Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Decryptante for you. We're going to talk about closure today. What is closure in JavaScript and what is the purpose of closure? So the definition of closure is when a function remembers its lexical scope even when the function is executed outside that lexical scope. Alright, so we need to understand what is lexical scope of a function, okay? If we look at this function here, this main function foo, right? This is the function foo we were talking about. It has an inner function, right? Which is called baz, right? So if we look at baz, it's trying to console.log bar, and it has access here. This bar has access to this variable and this string called bar, and you will be able to output bar in the log. Why? Because it's part of the lexical scope of that function when it was created. Since it's within the same since it's a inner function, it has the ability to find out what is this variable here, right? Which is the variable bar. So that's very interesting, because now after that in the function foo we're trying to call another method called bam, and then passing baz outside to another lexical scope, right? This is outside. We are passing baz to another method which is not part of this lexical scope. So the lexical scope here for baz, right, is only within the function called foo, and then we are passing it to bam, which is outside. This is outside of the lexical scope of foo and baz, right? And if we come here and execute baz, right, we are still able to get bar, and that's what is called closure. Closure is when a function, this function foo here, can remember its lexical scope, and its lexical scope has bar, and bar here as a variable, right? And even when that function is executed outside its lexical scope, this is the outside of the lexical scope. So this is what is meant by closure, and there's a lot of advantages of closure. All right, so closures has two main benefits. Okay, first, they can be memory efficient. Second is encapsulations. Let's dive right into memory efficiency and see how we can achieve that using closure, right? All right, so I'll just put this piece of code here quickly. Look at those two functions. One is called heavy duty, another one is called heavy duty 2, and then we're just outputting heavy duty and outputting heavy duty 2, right? So if we look at first one, is we are creating a big array constant variable, and then we are console.log created, and then we are just returning the value of that big array index. And then we have a second function, heavy duty 2, right? We're passing an index. We can just remove that. We don't need that here. Okay. All right, so the second function is we're passing, we have heavy duty 2, again creating a big array, and then console.log created, and returning a function this time. Here in the first method we were returning the big array index, so like the value of that particular index in the array. Here we're returning a function which will take an index and returning that value of that index, right? So what's the advantages of it? Let's just run it and see what are the different output that we get in the console, right? Just refresh that. All right, so let's see. Let's try to interpret that. See, we have heavy duty run here, created 1, created 2, and then created 3. So 3 times we have called the method heavy duty, and it has created big array 3 times. So basically it has created the function 3 times. That's the reason why it had to create a big array. If we took advantage of closure here and basically calling closure, calling the method, create a constant of the method heavy duty 2, and then call that method 5 times, so 4 times here, you will see that has created again just 1 time, outputted created again just 1 time, meaning that constant big array was created just once, the method was created just once. And since we have created big array just one, we have an inner function that can access the big array right here, which is closure, like we discussed, which is lexical scope, right? And outside, we are calling it outside, calling this function here, return function, outside of its lexical scope, which is heavy duty, and passing in the index. This gives us what we call as closure. Since we are creating it once, we have got memory efficiency, and we were able to get a response 4 times because we called it 4 times. Before, you could see that it was creating the big array 3 times and logging the created string 3 times, and also basically meaning that it was creating the function 3 times. And that, guys, sums up what it is closure. Alright, so let's talk about encapsulation and how we can achieve it using closure, right? Okay, so if we look at this method here called makeCounter, and it's a function, and we have an inner function called changeBy, and we're returning 3 different functions. Okay, so one of them is increment, another one is decrement, and another one is value. But if you look at the variable private counter and also at the method changeBy, they're actually inner functions, and it's not part of the return of the outer function, right? So we're just calling makeCounter. We have 2 different counters that we have initialized, and then we're just basically outputting the values of counter1, incrementing counter1 twice and outputting it, decreasing counter1 by 1 and outputting it, and then see if it has touched counter2 that value, which didn't. So if we look at the output of it from console, right, is 0, 2, 1, 0, similar like what we can see here, what we try to achieve. But if we take this into consideration, where encapsulation is coming into place is we're returning 3 different functions, which is increment, right? This is how we are accessing counter1.increment, decrement, and also value. We are not accessing changeBy method at all. So if we look at the console here, and let's try to do same thing again. Counter1 dot, let's see what are the different functions that we are allowed to access, right? So that gives us, we have only decrement, increment, and value, but we don't have changeBy, right? If we look at changeBy, it's not there. And that's how we achieve encapsulation in using closure in JavaScript. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you would want to learn more about software development, please subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to put a like and comments down there if you want to learn about any new topics. Thank you guys so much. Have a good one. Take care. Bye bye.